back to the 32nd edition of Rising Tide, the Ocean Podcast. This is David Helvarg, and my co-host is, as always, Vicki Nichols-Goldstein.
Well, hello again.
And today we're talking with an old friend, Ana Blanco, Executive Director of the International Ocean Film Festival, which recently celebrated its 18th anniversary. It had over 80 films from 17 countries, including panels with film directors, marine scientists, and others. All of that migrating online this year because of the pandemic. Anna's been a festival's executive director since 2011. So it's also your 10th anniversary, Anna. Congrats. Let's start by asking, what do you study to become the manager of the world's largest ocean film festival?
Well, that's a good question, David. Thank you so much for having me. It's not what you study. It's just, I think I just followed my passion. I love the ocean, and I have always lived near the ocean, and I grew up in Lima, Peru. And so my first exposure to the Pacific Ocean was when I was 11 years old. And I've always been in the nonprofit sector. I did have my first career was in financial services and just wasn't fulfilled by it. So that's when I came across the festival in a variety of different ways and just realized that this was something that was more meaningful to me, and that I had a lot more passion for wanting to protect our oceans and to raise awareness about our oceans. So in all honesty, it came a little easy, but it's been a lot of hard work, but it's been a lot of fun as well.
Did you have any earlier ocean films that inspired you to really kind of help you think about what do I really love with ocean films?
I grew up watching a lot of the Jacques Cousteau series and watched a lot of the repeats when I was younger. Mutual of Omaha was such a big thing in my house, even though it wasn't specifically about the ocean. But I just remember watching those films and just being inspired by what the natural world could offer us in terms of learning through film and learning through, the TV. I mean, TV was kind of your outlet for learning about wildlife and documentaries. And I certainly grew up in that environment when I was young.
I know that Jacques Cousteau specials were huge for generations, and I'm old enough where even before Jacques Cousteau, there was Sea Hunt, late 50s, early 60s. As a kid, Lloyd Bridges played Mike Nelson, underwater investigator. And there's a whole year class of marine scientists and conservationists today who grew up on Sea Hunt, although when I finally got certified as a diver, I was sort of surprised that I had so few knife fights when I was underwater. But yeah, it was those early images that really drove us, and I guess created millions of people's passion for the ocean was on TV or in cinemas before they actually got to the shoreline. What about when the Cousteau specials ended? When did film festivals start looking at the ocean?
That's a good question, David. I don't know the answer to that. We've been in existence for 18 years. And we started out at the Dolphin Club here in San Francisco. Very interested people, swimmers, people who were in the ocean decided to come together and wanted to start their own film festival. They realized the impact that film could have and just decided that we needed to do a film festival, and how it brings people together in celebration, brings community together, gives people an opportunity to meet with one another and talk about the issues that are so important to them. So I'm so grateful that they came together, because I've been able to see the lasting impact that film has, the lasting impact that it has when you get people together around a film or a specific topic of a film, and they just have a chance to learn something that's outside of their normal world or realm of learning. Typically, it's a place far, far away that they'll never get to. Or it's a solution-based film that talks about, here's what's working in our part of the world that can be adapted to other parts of the world. So there's just so much content there that I'm just glad that the festival was born and that it has such a long way to go. 18 years is really not that long. And I constantly remind people of that, because film festivals here in the Bay Area, for example, Mill Valley Film Festival or the San Francisco International Film Festival, they have both been around for like 45 and 60 years, respectively. And as a niche film festival, which focuses solely on the ocean and everything that has to do with the ocean, it is a niche, but there's so much content and so much subject matter that can be addressed in terms under the title of Ocean Film Festival, that there is so much room for growth for us. I've already seen so much in my 10 years that, it's just, we're just going to explode and go to the next level because there is so much out there.
In your time directing the film festival, have you seen trends, different types of issues that are unique to our current day that you didn't experience 10 years ago?
Yeah, there's certain films that have had tremendous impact. And I know when I say the names, you're going to both recognize them. But trends around specific subject matters more than anything. You'll start seeing films about some issue that's happened in the ocean, and then you'll get three or four of them, like the tsunami in Japan that happened almost the night that I started at the film festival. And it was March of 2011. And I woke up one morning and all of a sudden they said there had been an earthquake in Japan and everybody was frightened and we were getting phone calls. Is the tsunami going to reach the aquarium of the bay where we were hosting the film festival at the time? And is it going to hit? Do we need to cancel the aquarium, the festival? And I panicked and I thought, oh my God, could this actually be happening? But that was the fear at the time. So subsequent to that, 2 to 3 years later, we started getting a lot of films about the earthquake, about the debris that was coming and landing in Hawaii and coming into Washington. And it took about 3 or 4 years for those films to develop. But you see some trends like that in terms of if there was an event, some special topic that's being covered in the ocean. And then subsequent to that, you'll see several, if not many, films about that particular subject matter. So it's really about subject matter, but it's also the one thing I've noticed the most is the quality of the films. Technology has gotten so much better, and so many people have access to that technology around the world that the films are just coming in at such a high caliber, high quality, not just audio and visual, but the graphics that are used in films to make a point, especially a scientific point. That trend is getting better and better, and it's just nice to see that so many people have access to great technology. But the technology is really making it possible for filmmakers to tell a better story, to get their story across, to have it be more compelling. And I think that's one trend that I focus on a lot and that I do talk a lot about because it's just night and day from what we used to get.
I don't know. I guess that's your moment, that documentaries around the ocean are sort of emerging as more powerful media than they used to seem to be.
That's true. And the one that I think about a lot is Chasing Coral. Jeff Orlowski's film Chasing Coral, and kind of the impact that it had when it first came out a couple years ago. Because so much of it was about what's happening underneath the waterline, which most people don't see. And, it started out, we've always been talking about climate change, but I think in recent years, his film really opened up a lot of people's eyes about climate change and how it's affecting coral reefs and how they're dying off. And that was a really, really big film, so to speak. But you're right, documentaries are really having their moment, if you will. My Octopus Teacher, I mean, that's such a fantastic film with Craig Foster. I was on a panel for Jackson Wild, which is one of the premier wildlife film festivals in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I was a jury member, and I was given this long list of films to watch, and My Octopus Teacher was the very first one. And this was, about a year before it was even announced that it was going to be on Netflix. So I got to watch it. And so I was like so thrilled because here's an octopus, that's taking center stage and just having this tremendous impact in such an emotive and an emotional connection that people could experience. And to me, that one was just so interesting. We get a lot of people who refer to Jaws, and it had its moment in time, but and so many people learned about sharks from that film. And I was with you during the Benchley Awards when Wendy Benchley was there, and she shared with me footage of Peter Benchley and Steven Spielberg when they were making that film. So it's a very young Steven Spielberg. It's black and white. It's very short, but it's such a wow piece of history and such a wow piece of a very famous film. But but so many people see that film, or so many people watch my Sea Shepherd, or they watch, My Octopus Teacher. they watch Sea of Shadows, and they just become so enlightened and so enamored with what they've learned because they know that they're not going to learn it anywhere else, or they're not going to see it anywhere else. There are very few places where you're going to get that kind of exposure. And that's what makes documentaries and film festivals like ours so special.
And it's just too bad the octopus didn't live to see her winning an Academy Award this year. Best documentary. I wanted to go high five, high five, high five, high five, high five.
That was a fantastic show. I love that one.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
You've literally seen probably thousands of ocean documentaries and films. What sort of got the surprised you emotionally or sort of touched your heart dramatically?
It's funny. I'm glad you asked that because there's so much variety in the films that we show, whether it's, coastal cultures, that are fishing to save their lives, if you will. One of the more popular things, just because it is whales, whales and cetaceans, dolphins, anything to do with a mammal or an animal that people can relate to really touches people's hearts. So Whale Wisdom last year by Rick Rosenthal was probably our most watched film. And that was presented in a virtual presentation. And he's amazing. But the emotional connection that you can have with the film that's talking about whales, they're so big, they're so majestic, they're so human-like. They themselves have so much emotion that you can't help but get connected to them. And I think he was able to do that brilliantly through film. Another one that had to do with whales and understanding how they live underwater was Sonic Sea, which is about noise pollution in the ocean, which I didn't know anything about until I saw the film. But, a lot of it is just from mining in the middle of in the ocean and how much noise that makes and how that noise can affect whales, and then they get distracted and their ecosystems don't work and they get lost, and a lot of them will beach themselves. So a lot of stories like that, but I think there's so many people who connect with the animals and the films that they see that you can't help but get emotionally attached to what you see.
I'm sure you must get thousands of documentaries submitted every year. How do you select down to your final 90?
Well, first of all, we have a lot of fun when we do it. I have a great team of volunteers that watch the films, and we start watching them in September, believe it or not. So it's almost a 8 or 9 month process to go through the selection, and we have certain criteria that we vote on, whether it's the making of the film, whether it's the editing, the audio, the storytelling. Whether it is a host of other criteria that we collectively as a group will talk about and evaluate. So a lot of times we go out and pursue certain films that we know are out there and we want to showcase them. Sometimes films just come into us randomly. They hear about the film festival and they submit their films, which is great. But we end up watching all of the films, and most of us watch every single one of them. And then we have very lively discussions. And if we have to, we defend our choice for why we think this film is really good. So it is on a point system, but the subjective matter comes into place, and it's fun. It is one of the most entertaining parts of the film festival. To be able to narrow it down and to get everyone's opinions. And it's a really good group of different backgrounds, different perspectives, some filmmakers, some scientists, some people who have been coming to the festival for a long time. So the jury is a remarkable group of people that are just very, very committed. And some of them have been with me almost the entire 12 years that I've been around. So they have a lot of perspective and a lot of historical knowledge about films, which is very, very helpful.
It sounds like a great way to spend your year watching ocean films, talking about them, and then getting together socially to pick the favorites for the film festival. So if you need a volunteer, you know where to go.
Thanks, Vicki. I probably do.
And although you're, even before COVID made it into a virtual film festival, you were based in the San Francisco Bay Area, but you've taken the festival on the road. It really is international. Tell us where it's gone and why.
Well, we've been in Boulder, Colorado, where Vicki is right now. Yay for that!
Yay!
And we've done the March for the Oceans in Washington D.C. Thank you, David, for that. That
Wonderful
was
seeing
really
your screen films with the Washington Monument behind.
exactly. I have fantastic photos with Sylvia Earle on the screen and the Washington Monument at dusk. It was just phenomenal. So thank you so much for that. But when I started, I realized that films needed a longer shelf life. And this was before we found a virtual platform for showing films and decided that we needed to take them to other parts of the world. So we've developed a lot of partnerships with people who have an interest in the ocean, who want to showcase what's happening in the ocean. So we've been to Russia, we've been to Vladivostok, Russia, we've been to Mallorca, Spain. They have a fantastic film festival there. We've partnered with right now one of our current partners is South Korea, a town called Busan, which is on the southeast shore of South Korea. Jeju Island is a big influence in South Korea, so we get films about Jeju Island, about the hyena women who dive. Um,
Book I just read about them.
yes, yes, I just picked it up, and they're on their fourth year. And what I learned, I was there 2 years ago for it, and I learned that for them and like for some countries that are surrounded by ocean, there just isn't a knowledge base of understanding how important the ocean is to the people that live there. And that's what they are trying to do. They're trying to educate their constituency to say, the ocean is beautiful. It's for recreation. It's for food, which is their basic knowledge base, but it also has all of these other benefits. And let's do that through film and have fun doing it, basically. So we've gone to South Korea. We also have a great partnership with Kiel, Germany. Kiel is a port city in the northern part of Germany, about an hour from Hamburg, and they are our sister city. So we created a sister city partnership about 4 years ago, and now they have a very thriving ocean film festival.
You also have an educational element where you work with school children. Tell us about that.
The kids are great. Most kids in schools, their challenge is transportation. And, we might have this great thing we want to go do outdoors or at some location, but getting money for school buses was one of our biggest challenges. So now when we do our fundraisers, our focus is to raise money for the kids to be able to come to the theater and see the films in person. And, we get scientists, we get teachers, we get the National Park Service to come in and just talk to these kids and let them ask their questions. So it is one of the most rewarding experiences to walk into a room full of, middle school and high school kids, and they're learning about the ocean. So that's been really, really fun.
Anna's talked about some of the films that really impacted her. Sea Hunt probably helped define my life, and Whale Rider, and more recently, documentaries like Sea of Shadows. So, Vicki, what are your favorite ocean films?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was seriously impacted by The Cove.
Mhm.
That was pretty remarkable. And I actually worked to get the Cove into some schools here in Boulder. Actually, Louis was here as well. But that was really remarkable that something happening behind the scenes could be so impactful. So that was a biggie. Gosh,
Louis Joyous, who lived in Boulder at the time he made it,
yes,
directed it, won an Academy Award.
exactly. So, and yeah, and actually, Louis was involved when we brought you, Anna, in for one of the festivals, Making Waves earlier.
Mhm.
I think there are so many that it just is blurring in my mind. But one of the things that really has inspired me recently was David Attenborough's film, his last sort of film saying, I've been studying the ocean and the planet for so many years, and this is my message to you. And the message was, we've impacted the planet. We have some time to turn it around, and let's get busy. So I was really touched by that.
One that has such an impact on me personally was Chasing Thunder. And, let's give them a little bit of a plug. They're going to be on Discovery on World Ocean Day, which is June 8th. They have finally gotten into the world of TV. But we probably showed Chasing Thunder 3 or 4 times here in the Bay Area. I got to spend a lot of time with Paul Watson, had a wonderful interview with him, and had him at 2 of our screenings, and just what a remarkable individual in terms of creating an organization that is just so interested in doing something to help protect the oceans. Granted that some people might not agree with how they do their things, but they are making a difference. And Chasing Thunder was just a remarkable experience for our audiences. And
Well, again, and our friend Mark Benjamin, who directed it, it was one of the most
right.
maritime feeling. I mean, I've spent a lot of time on ships, but this is the story of Sea Shepherd basically chasing a pirate fishing vessel from Antarctica for 100 days over thousands of miles of shifting ocean and dangerous conditions. And it was a kind of victory and surprise ending that I won't spoil. But boy, what a great film to just give you the sense of what it is to be at sea. We're not all privileged to have the opportunity to go body surfing or scuba diving or go out to sea as reporters or mariners, but your festival makes that connection for people, and for young people may start them on a whole lifetime of discovery.
And there's so many other films too. There's all the documentaries. There's ones that are talking about taking action, doing something to preserve our oceans. And then there's those that are simply, let's just sit back and have fun. And let's just learn about the ocean, whether it's surfing or whether it's sailing. The Weekend Sailor, about the first Whitbread around the world sailing competition that was won by a Mexican sailor. I mean, it goes down in history as just such an entertaining historical account of a sailing trip, for example. But there are so many that are just, let's just enjoy the ocean. Let's celebrate, all the little fishies and all the splendor that there is in the ocean. And a lot of those come in the form of animation. One of the best animated films we've ever shown was Ain't No Fish, to the tune of Hoagie Carmichael's music. And that has gone, we have shown that one to pieces because the message is the same and it's claymation, but yet it's uplifting and it has a message. And you just walk away with such a good memory of a great film. So we're already planning for our 4-day in April. We've already got the confirmed dates, and we're also going to continue to do a hybrid presentation of the film. So we're just going to keep giving people the films that they want to see and tell the stories that need to be told.
So, and if people want to get involved in April 2022, how do they get in touch?
Our website is intloceanfilmfest.org. We have lots of volunteer opportunities. We have lots of opportunities to submit a film. Our student film competition will be in its 11th year. And so, we're already starting to plan for April 2022.
So thank you so much, Anna, for sharing your time and, of course, for your work with the International Ocean Film Fest. And we'll look forward to the next one.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Anna. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and it's been too long. So it's great having you on the show.
Rising Tide is a production of Blue Frontier with hosts David Helvarg and Vicki Nichols-Goldstein, and with support from Natasha Benjamin and Ellie Curlow. Rising Tide's editing services and additional technical support are provided by Studio Kate May of San Diego, California. The theme song is written and performed by Ethan Kenvarg. You can find Rising Tide, the Ocean Podcast, at www.bluefront.org or download it anytime from Apple, Google, or Spotify.
Off in the salty ocean, off where the waves roll free, the sparkling water rises, then crashes to the sea. Out amongst the breakers, you'll have no need to fear. It's true, it's the Blue Frontier. Off in the salty ocean, off to the Blue Frontier.
Sparky, come here, buddy. Sparky! There you are. Good boy, Sparky.